Welcome to Event Vods. This is the full VOD of today's NLC Winter 2025 matchup.
Into Black Cleaver. That also helps later on the AD carries to deal damage. So let's see the answer right here coming in from Nyx. It could definitely be something like another bruiser in the jungle or something that will pair up well with a control mage like the Victor right here. I'm surprised to see instantly the Victor locked in from Ho-Ho right here. I'm like, bro, you have so much to offer. Really, Victor?
Yeah, disappointing NLC debut in terms of showing off his champion pool there, I think it's fair to say. No, I mean, I would have expected him to pull up the Sejuani or something, right? Or the Cillian, he is the only player to ever get a pentacle on, by the way. So, I mean, the Victor, it makes sense, right? It's strong in the meta and giving some agency over to their Spanish jungler Nyx. They get him on the Viego, obviously matching with the jungler that the Ruddy Sack has already locked in. Quick double rotation here from the Ruddy Sack as they lock in that rail and get hums on an Ezreal, so he has a lot of agency to stay safe himself in lane and not be caught out.
I'm wondering here if you want to pair up something like picking up your AD carry right here. 4 AD carry bans. Ezreal already picked away. So you're going to get trimmed even further if you don't pick up your AD carry right here for RG. It's going to be the case. There is a Sivir hovered right there, which is a pretty good pick into the rel, especially with the spell shield. I do love me a Xayah. So from the side of RS, I'm expecting a Rakan ban for sure coming through. And then all eyes on top lane. You guys don't know it, but we had a Banderas versus Perks matchup created for you. You might get to see it in the post game as well. But I feel like they are the highlight of this game.
Yeah. Banderas is so known on the ERL system. We say Banderas, by the way, but he's so known and he's such a good top laner, so stable as well. Perks, we have no idea exactly. Like in terms of top lane, we just have no idea. The Galio could have been used as a flex, regardless of how you look into it, since we still don't have the top lane and the mid lane for Ruddy. Yamato Cannon, we know his champion pool from back in the day, but nowadays it's a lot of question marks. The Rakan, as you stated, has to be removed. Xayah Rakan, especially versus that team, would be a powerful one. And probably you can take another engager or disabler like Alistar if you want to trim on that one for Eski, but now it's going to be removed from Perks.
Yeah, trimming out the top lane pool just a bit, right? As you'd expect Ruddy Sack here to keep focusing on the support pool. Eski about to make his NLC debut, champion of Norway just last split, but I mean, with the pool now having removed the Rakan as well, taking one of his more comfort picks, I am intrigued to see what he will pull out here in his first game alongside Ragnar, right? An unfamiliar duo. Eski and Nomi won the Norwegian League together, so it's unfamiliar territory, and I'm really looking forward to see if the Ruddy Sack will be able to utilize this unfamiliar bot lane duo 2v2 for Rich Gang.
I want some engage coming through for Rich Gang right here. I feel like there's a lot of safety with the Xayah, with the Victor. You've got Viego for the resets, but something needs to be starting these fights. Something needs to be peeling for you as well. So the Alistar being taken away here is a huge hit because usually you want to be playing that Alistar into the Rel and vice versa. So the thing that you have left right now is probably something like a Nautilus. You could play Brom if you really want to do this, but picking into a Brom, you're pretty much peaking on peeling constantly throughout these fights. You don't necessarily have a huge engage tool on your side unless this is the Brom here, so then you can go ahead and maybe R5 and Ornn. But Banderas is not really the guy who just wait for R5 to pick up an Ornn. I'm expecting more of the Camille side of things from Banderas. But right here, we're going to get the mystery solved. What does really Perks want to play towards top sum up? Is he an Ambessa kind of guy?
Ooh.
Okay. So yeah, Matsu Cannon getting to play the Orianna. Luckily for him, a champion that did exist back in the day when he played competitively, right? Won't be throwing out the way or anything new here in his game in the mid lane. I mean, all eyes on the top lane match, right? They're all last picking it here. What will be Perks' pick as he's about to have his first game as a top laner? He might go for the safe pick. Yes, he takes the Ornn Banderas on his homecoming to one of his first organizations in Norway, right? He won the Norwegian National League in 2021 with Rich Gang. It is a romantic return to his ex, you can say, as Banderas. What will he log in? He's not one to shy away from a challenge, and the Fiora pick certainly could be that.
I'm so confused. It's Ornn into Brom. This is not legal. It's Ornn into Brom. This is the only versus this team. This is the only spell that Brom needs to pull his shield up for. It's gonna be huge from the side of Eski to be able to block the Ornn Horn. And you've got in conjunction a really good matchup into Fiora on a side lane that none of these champions on the side of Ruddy Sack is gonna be able to side lane again. So Banderas has got a lot on his back right here. And let's see if Nyx is going to be able to roam towards the tops of the map to get him even further ahead.
Wait. We had this yesterday. just because you're subbing in
boy.
doesn't mean they're going for those specific lines. So
yeah.
Perks might go on to mid lane, pulling a fast one on everybody. Yamato
That's not what
on
we signed
tank
up for.
duty. Oh, we got you baited. Oh, and Vendettas will be facing Yamato Cannon at the end.
All right.
I mean,
well, it's still
that
the
is,
same thing. Still Orin versus Fiora, so...
Yeah. I mean, Yamato Cannon will certainly be under pressure. I think the Ruddy Sack, they will have that decision-making put under pressure. It has to be perfect, as Banderas will certainly be a menace in the side lane. It's a hard-to-execute comp for Rich Gang here. No real hard engage. So I'm looking forward to see this game. A lot of pressure is on Banderas here as he returns to his former home in Norway, Rich Gang, right? Can they continue to shatter these expectations, or will the Ruddy Sack get an expected victory here in game number 1? I'm excited to see what happens.
So shall we start hostilities between each other? Who's going to predict who? Let's start with you, Trouble. Who do you think is going to take this one with the mid laner that actually played mid lane?
Oh boy. I mean, one team is playing all the way for peeling, but until I see an EU team, whether it's ERLs or LEC, play collectively towards that split push and successfully towards that split push, I'll always be rooting for the other teams. I think Ruddy suck on this one.
Okay, Duckling.
I mean, she goes Ruddy Sack. She did also predict it. I predicted Rich Gang here, and I think they've put Banderas in a prime position to show what this guy is all about. I'm very excited to see him back in the NLC again. It's always a treat to see him here. So I'm going to go with Rich Gang. They're going to play the side lane, and Banderas, he's going to break the decision-making of the Ruddy Sack, and they are going to get on the board and continue to shatter those expectations.
I love it. We're tied up on the desk, but what about the casters? We're about to jump onto the first game of day 2. And without further ado, it is Middle Cottage Jamada casting this one. Good luck.
Let's go. I am so hyped here. Jamada, we've got Ruddy Sack, we have got Rich Gang, going to be hitting the riff for the first game of day 2. I just can't wait to get into it, mate.
Yeah, I mean, 2 favorites of the group, I think many would say. Ruddy Sack, obvious reasons, right? RG, Rich Gang, a lot of very well-known and in some cases very well, what's the word I'm looking for? Titled out. They've got titles underneath. They've got belts from their own previous journeys and stories amongst all of the ERLs throughout the system. So many people looking towards RG as kind of a team, perhaps, if you're new to the NLC or the ERLs in general, who you'll be saying, yeah, maybe this team can kind of upset some of these big streamer teams, these teams with a lot of hype behind them. We're here, Summer's Rift, an early invade by RG. Look for some information, perhaps.
Yeah. Ruddy Sack, though, in a position where they can absolutely collapse on these guys.
Yeah, they know they're
They
there.
find themselves separated. Ho-ho. Could be stepping into that banana rush. Yamato Cannon also moving down. RG do not have the numbers advantage as it stands. Yamato with a little bit of a bait. Rich Gang just far enough away that Ruddy can't find the engage. Looks like it's all going to peter out into nothing. Nothing too crazy at the level 1 here, Jamada.
Yeah, it's really awkward, right? Because RS, they know. Ruddy Sack, they know that they're there, and they're still kind of poking around here. So, Ruddy Sack, they're trying to play for a lane swap, but they're playing against Braum. It's a really rough one, but they're getting a lot of poke in.
It's risky. Hustling going for the engagement. Maybe he's gone a little bit too far. SP has to flash away. Yamato kind of getting the knock up here onto Ho-Ho. He's not lucky. First one going down in favor of Banderas. Here comes the resets for Nyx, but he's got to get on out of there. Bodies hitting the floor at the level 1, and Rich Gang, the beneficiaries as it stands. 2 for 1, the kill score.
Goodness me, it's a bit of a fiesta. Is Yamato dead? I mean, Banderas, no flash. Maybe if you could have got like an auto flash. Reset on the Bio was doable, but Yamato was able to walk out. And like you say, 2-1 kill score goes up to Rich Gang. Where do those kills land? 1 on Banderas, 1 on Recognize. Actually, the worst 2 candidates. You could maybe think about those kills going over to. And on top of all of that, Ho-Ho, he gets the assist, so he's going to be slingshotted forward in that passive as well as we take a look at the replay. And it's always a risky thing going into an engage against the Braum. Hustlin's engage only lands onto Braum. W misses everyone else. And down here, Banderas just gets a free look in on Hustlin. And again, like we say, resets not super impactful here, but again, just takes Nyx out of the fight. He's not targetable. He can't be hit down. And Hamza also loses his flash trying to chase down another kill. So he's potentially vulnerable. He's on Ezreal for the next couple of minutes as just to track some of the spells as well. Nyx lost his flash, Banderas, Eski, and on the opposite side, the bot lane and top side of Ruddy Sack. So very vulnerable maybe on these side lanes for the time being, as we've landed in this lane swap sort of set up, right? Bot laners in top, top in bot. So technically standard lane, just on the flip side of mappers. Going in.
Ragnar needs to be careful. I think that Hustlin may need to take care as
Good
well
body
as getting in the way, preventing a lot of that damage from going down. And Hamza, the only one really in this bot lane in the top side that is looking all that healthy, and he wants to play with his HP a little bit. Ragnar, one mystic shot away from going down, the stun coming up, but Eski throws up the shield. His AD carry stands behind him and goes back to base, just about alive.
Yeah, just about. Eski's the MVP so far for this Rich Gang bot lane matchup as Banderas. A lot of free time, right? It's the Ornn matchup. Just harassing Jankos in his own jungle, trying to get his clear in. Jankos will now be left undisturbed once again, but you can already see how much freedom Banderas is going to be afforded in this 1v1. Already up a lot of CS2. Some of that in part, of course, because of that level 1.
Yeah, but also, right, some of that because he is playing against a substitute like Yamato Cannon. Very, very good player.
Still off-roll.
Right. Still off-roll. Still hasn't played a competitive game in over 10 years. So, it makes you a little bit rusty.
Yeah, just a little bit. Still the GOAT, you know, one of the best voices in esports and all the rest of it.
Oh, of course.
But well, I guess also calling him GOAT kind of apt. He's playing on, I suppose, so it's not the worst thing to call him. It seems like junglers for now just going to trade out skulls, a little bit of vision maybe at best, and take their resets. So, hectic level 1, and Hamza and Hustlin already, you know, putting down a lot of pressure up on Ragnar and Eski, but it's not actually turned into anything just yet.
Yeah. Must note, though, that obviously with the chaos of that level 1, First Blood, one of those feats of strength, did go over to Rich Gang. And if you happen to peruse Twitter, or X, or whatever we're calling it this week, few people are quite upset with the power that you can get from those feats of strength with the tier 2 boots and all of that. Nyx is...
Well, I'm gonna devil's advocate you here, though. The boots are real bait. You know, it's a big time.
Yes!
It's a big time. It's a psyop, honestly, to be completely honest with you. Mostly in part because I think they're new, right? The tier 3 boots, of course. So what you're seeing a lot is players will get access to them at level. I think they're locked behind. Is it level 13? And then also if you hit 2 items,
you got to have
legendary items, right?
two legendaries,
whatever comes first. And so players are very excited, tier 3 boots, all the rest of it, and then they just kind of buy them, and they're not really super gold efficient, but also they delay your 3rd item, right? I think people forget League of Legends is an item-oriented game. Items you buy, they change how your champion works a lot of the time. So you buy tier 3 boots after 2 items, just delaying a 3rd item. It's pretty bad. As mid lane, Scorpion's going to see
Could be
a little
pretty
bit of
bad.
aggression.
Still a slight over. Not going to be both jump top side. Being able to get first mover to maneuver towards those. Like, I can't believe that I'm saying Yank in the context of the NLC game.
I know, it's crazy. He's secured the first grub. I'm not sure how Ruddy is going to be able to stay on the rest, though. Hamza has second move, and if you take a look at the minimap, Banderas has actually moved over as well towards the mid lane. So I think this might be a 2-for-1 exchange or a fight. Both these teams still jostling. Another grub goes over to Nyx.
Yeah, and I love this positioning from Ho. The Victor, with that level 6 especially, has so much zone control and is just preventing Ruddy Sack from moving in, although they may find an angle towards the top side. Hustlin flashing, going forward, Shockwave drop down onto Ragnar. The Ignite as he ticks down, just about gets away. Meanwhile, in the middle of the river, we've got an Ornn ultimate thrown down and Banderas in the middle of absolutely everybody. Eski's going to be able to grab that kill as Hustlin now potentially in danger. It's a second kill for the Rich Gang top laner. And for all the big names on Ruddy Sack, it's Rich Gang who are doing better in the early game.
Yeah, the fight just doesn't look so good, right? I mean, for Ruddy Sack, it's a difficult angle to engage from, and like you were mentioning, Ho's positioning makes the fight so easy as Jankos is going to be donated over to Nyx. Gets himself a kill, so it adds an additional kill on top of the 2 that we just had from those grubs. Goes from bad to just a little bit worse for Ruddy Sack, but great for Rich Gang.
Yeah. Especially for the man in the top lane with all those NLC belts. Banderas 2-0-2. Ticked over to level 6. Meanwhile, Hustler looking for something in the middle lane. Ho with a smart flash to get away, but looking as we went through that champion select, so often we see R5 top lane picks not really utilized to their fullest potential, but this Fiora completely changes the way that both teams have to play the game.
Yeah, exactly. We'll touch on it in a moment. Just looking at this replay, because the engage is good from Hustlin, right? Q flash onto Ragnar. And Shockwave as well connects, but it's one of those awkward Shockwaves where it doesn't really drag him anywhere because he's right up next in the terrain. Ultimate comes across from Yamato Cannon on the Ornn, but it doesn't really have any impact. And again, it's all about the positioning from Rich Gang, right? They always had the slightly better angles in. Ho-Ho, AoE, kind of gets to hit the back line for free because Ruddy Saka trying to move forward on that bot lane of Rich Gang as you're seeing proxying from Banderas. Jankos does have level 6. But Banderas is, he's going to throw up the OK emote. He knows he was maybe overstepping his bounds a little bit too much there.
Ragnar and SK, it feels like whenever they want to go aggressive in the bot lane, kind of just can do. It's going to be first Dragon picked up there from Nyx, and again, Rich Gang just stacking up these early advantages. 2,000 gold to the good as we crest 9 minutes, but that might change. Smart flash out from Nyx, and I think that's a couple times now. We saw it in that fight in Rhythm, we've just seen it there. These flashes being burned from Rich Gang, just keeping them alive in pretty important scenarios.
Yeah, and they're going to be really important to track throughout this game as well, right? I think when you take a look at how these compositions work, 1-to-1 is Perk's going to use the ultimate there just to clear out the way, but also get a nice chunk out to Ho-Ho. Is that it's Ruddy Saka all of these agency tools, right? The entire Everell's kit, Jankos on the Wukong, the Orno, of course. They want to force fights on their item specs. 2 items, maybe 3 even for Orianna. Maybe a little bit far, but that's kind of what you're looking for. On the opposite side, though, Rich Gang, it's just all about the disengage. It's all about positioning and just letting Banderas play out the side lane. He's going to outscale Yamato Cannon on this Ornn. And eventually, what's going to have to happen is, I mean, at best, you try and send Ornn. You try and send Orianna, rather, down towards the, the side lane to try and clear out the waves. It's not going to work, though, for long. At the end of the day, Fiora will still outscale eventually, so it will get rough. A bit of a timer, you could say, Ruddy are on, but we'll see how they handle this side lane as we go on.
Yeah, so if you are Yamato Cannon right now, you do have the privilege of being a coach that can actually directly tell his players what to do in the game. What are you saying to them? And if you want, you can give me an impression as well, Jamada.
Look, early career, a lot of people used to say, Jamada, you've got a great voice. Like, I really like your voice for casting. I never really got it. Part of it, some of the feedback was deep voice. I can't go as low as Yamato can, man. It's too... It's ridiculous. It really is, and I've got to say, hearing it also in person, it's even more ridiculous than hearing it through the screen. As on our screens, Rich Gang, they're getting probably all 3 grubs here. Ruddy Saka not really in a position to contest at all, and again as well, a little bit of first move over from Banderas. So much freedom afforded to him on the map.
Yeah. You know what's worse than a Fed Fiora? A Fed Fiora with a load of void grubs.
Yeah, it does feel a little bad as by the looks of the screen, seems like Banderas may have had some kind of connectivity issues.
It does feel like potentially that is the one win condition for Ruddy at this point. Is
hey, like it's all about the shenanigans over at Ruddy.
Yeah,
maybe they've sent someone over to Banderas' house to just snip the internet cables. The early running gag of the NLC was that Nymera got his spot on the NLC because he came and snipped my internet cables for a summer. And that gave him some time on the show. Maybe we're looking at a similar kind of deal here, right? Hey, more time in the league for Ruddy if they can snip Banderas' internet cable nice and early and give them a win against a direct compare. I think a lot of people going back to that point. People will be looking at this lineup as, one of the other favorites, as Ho-Ho is the victim of a 3-man dive.
Yeah, I was going to say, really nice dodge on the rail cube, but unfortunately there are 3 people there, so you do just end up dying. A little bit of fight back coming through from Ruddy, though. That's going to feel good for them, as it's just popping back into the mid lane. And Banderas, just doing this again. Is this just a proxy league now? Is this all we do in the NLC?
Faust is here. People are going to feel a little bit possessed. I mean, Hums does need to hit a Q, though. That would definitely help in the DPS department. He's landed 1, but now he's starting to miss the wave. And Banderas isn't going to get the cannon. So there's that, right? Take the wins where you can get them. However, take a look at this bottom side, and it's a bit of a catastrophe, right? Starting to see Ragnar And SB gets some of these plates online. Of course, the 5 grubs going to do a lot of help with that. As now Huston and Jankos are here to assist, so I wonder if they're going to try and make a play with the Ornar. They have to, of course, think about Eski having his shield, but it's just going to be a step away and a reset. So not really much Ruddy Saka going to be given in terms of an opportunity.
Yeah, really nice ward actually placed there, just spotting out Jankos and hustling behind that tower. So no oversteps going to come out from the Rich Gang bot lane, and I mean, we're already really starting to see as Fiora just completely take over whatever side of the map she's on. Like, Hamza can't stand against her. Perks is going to be moving up now, and yeah, you've got that range advantage, that wave clear that the Orianna is going to provide, but how do you deal with a Fiora that is this fed this early?
Yeah, I mean, is the neat part, but I don't think you, I think you really can. You know, it's something that you kind of just have to. You try to stem the bleeding as much as you can at important timings in the game, whether that's objective spawns or just kind of what we used to call dead time on the map, where there weren't really too many objectives up and available to take. Though, of course, in this new season, it feels like there's pretty much an objective every 2 minutes, so that downtime will be limited. But the general, you know, Baron spawning later and things like that, Atakan coming up at 20 instead, it also kind of plays into Fiora existing a little bit more free, because there's no threat of an early Baron, or in this case, for Rich Gang, with this kind of lead, it means that they have more time to play around with the Baron, more likely than not, as the second dragon is spawned up. It will be a Hex tech. And Rich Gang, it feels like they're the ones with all the setup to get this one, so this should be a relatively clean pickup if they want it. And they're also going to get this tower done here, no more plates, so first tower drops, and that will be Feast of Strength over to Rich Gang 2.
Feeling good to be Norwegian right now. Feeling good to be a Rich Gang fan. I will say this isn't completely uncharacteristic from Ruddy. They do tend to start the split a little bit slow, a little bit shaky, and then by the end of it, they're just this unstoppable behemoth that makes it to a final before inevitably losing. But yeah, not the most auspicious way to begin a campaign.
No, it isn't. But of course, under the circumstances as well, substitute in. Can't be fully faulted for the time being, as they're looking for a play onto Hawthorne. Has flash again, but he's 3-man. He's
going to use it. Chaos Storm. Nick's dropping the stun down onto Hustlin, who is going to be dropping, and that's going to give a reset to the Viego. The Victor is dead, and Jankos is a little bit too strong for Nyx to tangle with at the moment. Eski making a maneuver over, but not going to result in any more action. I'll say that he has to flash back away from the wall, but Nyx is going to follow him, going straight over, dropping the ultimate onto Jankos. It's a killing spree for the Rich Gang jungler, and Perks is going to be killed by some random bloke from Hungary. MSI champion, welcome to the NLC, as Hamza, the Egyptian Draven god, is not able to make it out of there. Rich Gang are running the show.
Rich Gang take over on the clap back to that dive. Ruddy Sack, it was an alright play, but I've got to say the shockwave timing choice from Perks was a little odd. We'll look at it in the replay, because I think he had an option for a 2-man. Maybe they just thought they didn't need it, right? You'll see as he steps back, it just takes him a while to get the ball in, and then he ends up shockwaving now, but Nyx has got the reset, so he avoids it completely untargetable. And then it's about the re-engage, right? They look for Eski because he face checks in. Eski drops the passive on him, and Nyx just goes crazy. Flash over the wall with the stun, and the chain CC is there. Nyx, again, he just doesn't end up dropping either to any of the kind of throwback damage from Hamza, from Perks, and the rundown just super easy with these Brawn passives rather being applied. Flash forward from Ragnar. And easy as you like. Kill does go over to Eski. Still not the worst in the world. As speaking of, the Brawn yet again being caught out as they're on top of Rift Herald, and they will secure it as we come out of that replay.
And Hustling going for another engagement. He's going to catch out Ragnar! That's more like him for Perks! Shockwave on 2-3, but Ruddy are still in a rough spot. Even when it's pixel perfect, it's only a 1-for-1.
Yeah, criticize the timing. Didn't get it wrong that time. As he's just going to use that Heartbreaker out. Shockwave was nice, combo was great, but they still lost out on the objective. Ruddy, so Rich Gang getting everything they want. They're up 4,000, almost 5,000 gold. They're looking for there is going to be a nice shutdown.
Yeah, Jankos flashing away. Both players flashing away from each other. Neither confident they'd be able to make it out of there without dying themselves. So it does just end up fizzling out, but what confidence we're seeing coming out from Rich Gang. They just keep going for these plays, backing themselves as they're working. Definitely not intimidated by the big names on the other side of the rift.
No, definitely not, right? And once you see this composition start to come together from Rich Gang, all 4 members, you have to remember it's so much pure, right? So much utility in CC when you're the one that's reacting to a play. If you're already coordinated and, you know, in the case of Ruddy Sack, maybe you're a little bit disjointed, maybe one person's out of position, or whatever it is, things can get really messy really quickly. The execution floor is weirdly high because of the tools available to Rich Gang, despite what is, you know, on paper, a theoretically very easy comp to pilot from Ruddy Sack. As maybe thinking about a play onto the Fiora, of course, just lost her flash. But it looks like a reset will be the par for the course, though Perks is, of course, a little bit high up. We'll have to stop that one as the Herald dropped mid. They just want to break it.
Yeah,
seems like, and with 5 grubs too, and no one really here to answer beside Hamza. That one's gonna go.
All the outer towers now taken by Rich Gang. All those early objectives saved for a single Void Grub in favor of Rich Gang. And these guys made a massive splash in Division 2 last year, but I don't think many people will have backed them to make a strong start in this league, particularly going up against Ruddy Sack as their first game. But they have come here to play at a roster that I think in splits past would have been anticipated to be right at the top of the NLC, is showing that, hey, they're pretty damn good at League of Legends.
Yeah, I mean, streamer teams be damned, right? Doesn't really matter. I'm sure the ERL purists are rubbing their hands. Happy to still see a team like Rich Gang's roster come in and perform very well from the offset here. As the 3rd dragon spawning up, Ocean Soul and Rift will be what's on offer. And again, you know, Rich Gang, this is what you want. You're the team that kites back. You're already in the river. You're the one with the setup. Force the other team to come into you. Sounds like a dream to me. And Fiora's on the top side. They're pushing that again. Bar is still here from Jankos. It looks hard.
Yeah, I mean, Perks is keeping in, but the Dragon's already gone. Ragnar going to be popping the ultimate. Nyx out of there. Even if the Xayah drops down, you've still got a Fiora on the top side just wailing away on that turret. I don't think that's worth it, Ruddy.
Nope. It's going to be tier 2 almost certainly dying. 5 grubs and Fiora, though the wave was a little small. I think she can probably tank this out, though. And it's a large chunk of pocket change going into Fiora's back pocket, who's already very close to a second item, and it's actually just an easy rotation over the Atacon. Because Ruddy Sack opted to try and cross-map, get a little bit of gold back. And no doubt, I think Rich Gang, again, mentioned how those ERL purists can rub their hands together. I think Rich Gang, same thing here with this Atacon buff.
Yeah, and Ruddy, they're not content with letting this one go over completely for free as hustling Yamato Cannon in the area, but too little too late, unfortunately, for the Ruddy fans.
Does feel that way. And I mean, the other kind of concerning thing for Ruddy was all of this fighting happened kind of before they're at their spikes, right? They're at their spikes now, but the problem is you kind of look over at the other side and like, well, Fiora's at 2 items now, plus that pickaxe. Viego also at 2 items, a whole item ahead right now of Jankos. Well, half component, but those components not exactly the strongest. Eski, I mean, even if they kill him, he's gonna use the flash.
Even if they're not gonna, Jamada.
Yeah, that GA is still on the table, so he can just take a reset, get his health back, and with nothing really to play for on the map, right? It's an open map right now. It's not really a thing. I mean, frankly, I don't even think he should have flashed. I think you can just very happily let
Take the L, yeah.
Yeah, just take your L, let your GA die.
I'd like this from Nyx. They're very active shadowing, moving into these lanes, and Ruddy Sack looking for a bit of a group up in the mid lane, but you look at the side lanes and Banderus, Horhor just getting that priority. It's going to need to be answered, and yeah, there's nothing objective-wise on the map that Rich Gang really should be looking to take at the moment. But it doesn't bode well for 2.5 minutes time when we're starting to look at Ocean Drakes, we're starting to look at Barons, and we're starting to look at a fight in the bot lane, and Jankos just goes splat as easy as that. Banderus going into the GA in the mid lane after taking down Hamza. And Rich Gang are pretty wealthy right now. Multiple thousands of gold to the good and looking for some inhib towers. And this, he might even just be looking for kills, diving on top of Perks. He's going to get taken back to the fountain. Ragnar flashing forward, looking for another kill for himself. Still with the Atakan buff on his back. Killing him is going to be, well, absolutely impossible for anybody in this situation. He's just trying to buy as much time
He
as
needs
we
to
can.
be careful here. Atakan buff, yeah, he can run into the tower. Atakan buff was about to time out, so good timing on that one, but not able to get the objectives of those towers that they were probably hoping for. But at the end of the day, damage is done, right?
Yeah.
You know, they're still picking up multiple summoner spells on the opposite end. More importantly, of Hamza, of Perks as well, 2 carries. And like you mentioned in the call, you know, they're playing for that tier 2, maybe even a tier 3. Mid lane, Banderas is just solo killing.
Oh no, he's in shop! He's in shop!
Hamza.
Oh,
brother.
wallahi, he's finished.
Hamza, brother. Oh, that's not good, man. That's not good.
And then he comes straight back and dies to
Yeah.
Yamato Cannon. So I'm not really sure what happens here.
All right. Well, yeah, taking a couple tower shots. He queued as well, so he's playing for the Demolish proc. He forgets that Ornn deals damage, and that the tower ramp damage is also significantly higher this season. So can't quite get away with that one. You yeah, there's not much to say about that.
Do we call...
Well,
We might call that a whoopsie.
yeah, I think we call that a whoopsie. We just let that one slide. Most NLC titles in this game, right? Pretty sure. I don't think anyone's got multiple, so you know, just let it slide, right?
He's allowed to. He's allowed
Yeah,
to.
he's got that one under his thumb. 15 seconds until this dragon spawns up. But again, for Ruddy Sack, even if they're at their item, you know, some of their item breakpoints,
Oh,
it just feels so rough to play out as Yankos. That's the flash over the wall. I don't think he had a clone.
Didn't have W.
Otherwise, sure he would have used it. How can play, Middlecop?
How can play?
That
Don't
is-
think can play, unfortunately.
Yeah.
I think Ruddy Sack are going to play, but whether they're successful, I think, is pretty up in the air. As where on earth is the damage? It's completely absent.
Oh!
Gets one, gets two. But the rest of his gap reset. Against the ground. I get the drag.
It's a clean ace for Rich Gang. They get the soul. Oh no, they actually did lose the dragon, so I take that back, but they will get the Baron for sure. And Banderas is an absolute devil in the backline. Solos out Perks, and I think he got all 4 Vial procs, so the healing was crazy. He was 1v3, even after Perks died, and even though Hustler's engage was great, unfortunately, didn't really have that follow-up like you mentioned in the call. So, great stuff from Rich Gang, and Baron goes over, mid lane inhibitor drops to Banderas, and now they're just going to be able to move over to either side of the map and play how they kind of feel like playing. Now, for the next moment or so, unfortunately, as you probably heard from Middlecott, I'm going to be alone, so we'll see how I can handle the cast. As a Hustler's engage is great, it was a 3-man, 4-man, all on top of him, but Perks is being soloed out by Banderas, and the ultimate from Yamato Cannon is parried onto Hums, so Hums is stunned and can't return the damage that he probably could have found to finish off Banderas, and the rest of Rich Gang continue to follow on and find the follow-up. As now we come out of the replay, 4 strong on the bottom side for Rich Gang, and again, Ruddy Sack so far behind now at this point, it feels a little bit untenable. Save a miracle engage. I'm hearing whispers of Middlecott, but I don't know if that means he's back.
Maybe.
Maybe back.
See.
Yeah, maybe back. We do love the trials and tribulations of casting online, as Eski won't be able to block that one up. Yankos is on the back line right now, and there's a big knock-up on to Ragnar, and he might just about drop, but the follow-up damage is crazy! Ho just puts everyone in the dirt with that Chaos Storm, and Nyx is getting the resets. The dive comes forward as well from Banderas, untouched yet again. As Rich Gang, they're going to take down this inhibitor, and they're going to make their way onto the Nexus Towers and go 1-0 in their group against Ruddy. A very strong showing for their first game of 2025 here in the NLC. And streamer teams be damned. Los Ratones looked pretty infallible yesterday, but Ruddy, under the circumstances, unfortunately not right now.